The most awaited end of the year progress post is finally here, and oh boy, do I have things to talk about today. First, I wanna say huge thanks to everyone who watched my live stream, waiting and reacting to the progress post. I had a great time chatting with you, talking about Fantastic Frontier and our expectations for the update. It was really amazing and made me wanna do more live streams in the future. Now, for the actual progress post. This is the first time since 2019 that a dev has pinged everyone in the official Discord server, so they really wanted people to see this one. It already starts with an absolute banger, this image named Time and Space Teaser, one of the coolest and most intriguing teasers we've seen so far. It depicts an old man, apparently a wizard, and the shadow figure with clear white eyes and a red heart on its chest. Where do I even begin? The wizard holds a spellbook with some crazy particles around it, showing numbers and symbols like an hourglass, which of course represents time. This spellbook has an encrypted symbol which appears to be some sort of staff, which we can see on the back of the man. I can't tell if it's a regular staff that he can wield at any time and just holds on his back, or if it's like attached to him or his clothes. I noticed there is something else sticking out of his back that could be another weapon, but we can't know for sure. Also tied to his left hand, we can see what appears to be either a magic wand or a walking stick. We were discussing about it during the livestream and I can't tell for sure which of them it is, but I'd guess it's a walking stick. Otherwise, I like to point out this big glowing square on his forehead, and these four purple things that look like either small crystals or petals. We have seen something somewhat similar in this teaser posted by Gorbacelli some time ago. I might be thinking a bit too much on this one, but to me it definitely looks similar, so they might have something to do with each other. Now about the shadowy figure, what can I even say about it? It's unlike anything I have ever seen in any teaser. The devs just never fail to impress me. One thing I can point out is that it has this heart, of course, and we have also seen a heart in that same teaser I showed before. So apparently this is another symbol present in this update, along all the other recurrent ones we've been seeing. Also, I have seen discussions regarding the importance of black and white in the game lore. As we know, color symbolism in general is something very present in Fantastic Frontier that they are expanding in this update. My friend Pearl made a video about this topic some time ago, so if you're interested in this topic, you should definitely check it. As I told before, this image is titled Time and Space Teaser, which to many people is an indication that those two are named Time and Space. This can be reinforced by the particles in the spellbook, for example. Additionally, the space background seen here is something we have seen quite a lot of teasers in the past, mostly those who depict a weapon or an armor set. This could imply that there is gonna be a new dimension which would be like the outer space, where we would possibly explore different planets. This could be an explanation for all the places with different backgrounds we've seen in the teasers. They have mentioned in the previous progress post that this update is going to have two new dimensions. It's possible that one of them is the Sky Islands dimension, which has this white sky background, and the space dimension, with different planets, each having their own atmosphere. I have thought previously about the possibility of space exploration or something related to outer space, such as meteors being in this update, but only now after connecting the dots with these different backgrounds, it makes more sense to me. If my theory is correct, that is huge news. We all know about the Sky Islands, but besides the random space background in teaser images, there wasn't ever any clear mention of it being something in the update. So now thinking about how they made it clear that they are yet to reveal the more juicy stuff from the update, it makes a lot of sense to me that the bigger dimension coming in this update is actually the space. And there is where we find most of the places from teasers, depicting areas inside of structures, as a lot of them have felt out of place in relation to the Sky Islands. Still, as I always say, it's just a theory, so don't take it for granted. But it does make a lot of sense in my head and I think it's a reasonable thing to assume. What do you guys think? Moving on, Spectra greets us, and acknowledges the fact that they haven't shared much information with the community during this year, but states that we shouldn't worry as development has been in full swing behind the scenes, and it was a productive year for them. They have watched their to-do list steadily shrink, and the prospect of a completed update grow ever closer, and so they remain optimistic, and are very happy with how the update is shaping up. And so they talk about what we've been waiting for the most, the release date. As of right now, they feel confident to say the update will be arriving sometime in 2025. When exactly? They're still not quite sure. While a lot of content has been finished and set aside this year, the amount they still have left to finish and connect together is no trivial task. So they have to stay focused and keep their heads down a bit longer. Initially, I wasn't so pleased with that information, since naturally it's pretty vague. and we didn't have a great outcome when they last had an estimation for their release date. But after thinking about it for some time, I feel very optimistic about this information, and here's why. As I mentioned in my previous video, from my own expectation, until they announce the beginning of beta testing, we are at the very least 2 months away from the release date, which would be around the beginning of March counting from now. A March release wouldn't be the best, as pretty much everyone is either working or studying at this point of the year. And although we don't have great memories of the last time they announced a tentative release date, it would be very bold of them to even regard the possibility of making that same mistake once again. So for them to put it for sure that it's coming in 2025 at this point, I guess they personally expect it to come at the very least in the first half of the year, possibly around June, which is the beginning of summer holidays in the Northern Hemisphere, where the majority of the player base lives. So it makes a lot of sense that after spending more than 5 years developing this update, they would want it to be released when the most people possible have time to play it. It would be the best outcome for everyone in my opinion. I should be learning from my mistakes and be less optimistic, but once again, I'm hoping and expecting a release date around the middle of the year. Announcing a release date and failing to deliver it once again would be a massive letdown, and I really don't think they are willing to make that mistake again. So I'd say they definitely don't expect it to take more than 6 months, and announced it as 2025 as a safety measure. On top of that, they followed the post by saying that although the update is getting closer, they still aren't quite to the point where they would want to review everything. As such, they wanted to keep this post a bit on the simpler side, to just let us all know they are still very much alive and kicking, rather than share too much in terms of content and features. Despite it being a simpler progress post, it didn't by any means fail to deliver new content and build hype, as we're gonna see right now. This segment of the post is titled A New Era for Combat, and it starts with an amazing picture of a boss fight, and a boss HP bar for a creature named the Poison Eater above. The picture is named Poison Eater Teaser, so we can imply that this monster is the Poison Eater. This might be one of my favorite teasers yet, as it reveals another thing that was highly speculated for some time, underwater exploration. This looks like a flashback to the Gux fight teaser that revealed underground exploration. I guess they wanted to achieve the same goal with this image, and they definitely did. Here we can see the Poison Eater, which is definitely inspired by deep sea fish, like the anglerfish. It isn't super big compared to the player size, which is a lot different from the current bosses in Fantastic Frontier. I'm very curious to see how this boss fight will play in-game. The player model next to it wears a scuba diving suit, so I'm assuming one of the 3 new stats that were confirmed back in 2019 is gonna be underwater breathing, provided by armors like this one, enabling the player to access underwater areas, which is further proved by these bubble particles next to the player. Also, the weapon wielded by the player is a harpoon. So far we've seen a lot of different weapons in the teasers. They definitely did a great job expanding the weapon variety in this update. The fight takes place in an area surrounded by those green crystals that look similar to the Poison Eater's lanterns. And as a matter of fact, it looks just like one of the 6 sandwich crystals that we've seen a lot of other teasers. Noticing this got me really hyped, as it correlates to my theory that the crystals are each held by a different boss, which I have talked about many times in the teaser review videos. Though now, after seeing the amount of these crystals around that area, they might not be as exclusive of an item as I initially thought. Maybe they are in fact each held by a specific boss, like that other one by the Sky Island's dragon, but you might be able to also mine them. This is further supported by another image we'll check in a few minutes. Furthermore, Spectra tells that combat is something that has always been at the heart of Fantastic Frontier, and as such, they are always looking to elevate the experience and make it the best it can be. This update includes a truly gargantuan amount of new monsters, bosses, weapons, and equipment. Not only does the quantity of new content being added rival that of all previous updates combined, it's also of much higher quality than what they have created in the past. And he's particularly proud of the new bosses Corbuccelli and him have cooked up for this update, which he can confidently say are unlike anything we have yet to see in Fantastic Frontier. In addition to the new weapons and monsters that are added in the update, they've also been putting a great deal of care into making the core aspects of combat as fun as they can be. They have polished up some of the existing weak spots and have added heaps of new features that make combat much more exciting and dynamic. Then they proceed to share a few of the combat related features we can expect in the future. Dodging, blocking/parrying for melee weapons and some magic weapons like staves, bullet physics and improved projectiles, weaknesses and resistances for individual monsters, melee, magic, ranged, full screen boss HP bars, new equipment stats such as the ability to reduce the cooldown of special attacks, wider weapon variety within classes, more than just guns for ranged, etc. Arenas and dungeons where players can fight monsters more consistently, damage numbers to show how hard you're hitting, and much more. I honestly don't have much to add in regard to this. Most are straightforward and I think they're all super cool and amazing additions to the game. By properly implementing all of these features, FF should have one of the best combat systems in all Roblox games. I'm really curious to see how some of these, like the bullet physics and these arenas and dungeons, will be implemented. I'm sure we're gonna get more information about these additions in the future, but definitely nothing will top being able to experience all of these changes in-game once the update arrives. They close this segment by saying that combat will now not only be a lot more satisfying, but also offer a much wider variety of builds, weapon combinations, and ways to play. Afterwards, we get to a new segment, Reforge in the Past, which starts by showing us this image, depicting a normal cobalt armor set, as we have currently in the game, and another with customized details made from this red mineral. It also holds a big sword and we can clearly notice they are inside the cave. At the very first sight, I instantly assume that this teaser is showing armor customization. If you recall, we have already seen an armor that looked very similar to an armor-based set in the current game, with some extra details. And if you pay close attention, it's the exact same details as this one. A bit further down in the post, they talk about this image, noting that it features the classic ore-based armor set in addition to a new upgraded version. The new armor is not a replacement for the old, but rather an improved version that can be crafted with more materials later in the game. Another thing I noticed is that this crystal is also very similar to one of the sandwich crystals, so it really feels like they are starting to reveal more about them. Likewise, it's interesting that he mentions that we will be able to upgrade the armor specifically later in the game. I initially assumed that we could do this with any gemstone, such as the ones that are currently in the game, but it seems to be reserved to the sandwich crystals and possibly more ores and gemstones. Considering all of this emphasis on minerals we've been seeing, I can only assume that one of the supposed 3 new Itempedia pages is going to be for them. As for the others, we currently don't know, but we might get new information to help us figure out soon. As for the weapon, I've seen people mentioning that it appears to be a fusion between a gun and a sword, and I can definitely say that it does in fact look like it. So that could be either a hybrid weapon, or that could mean we'll be able to fuse weapons together. Honestly, that would be crazy. I don't think we'll be capable of fusing every single weapon with any other, but it feels reasonable to me that hybrid weapons will exist as specific ones that we should have the ability to buy at shops or drop from monsters, but also we might be able to craft them, the same way we can with the minerals and armors, as specified by Spectra. This has absolutely huge implications, so let me do a deep dive in theories. If what I deduced from this gun sword is at least partially correct, this pretty much confirms the popular theory that the mixed colors simply refer to hybrid classes. It might seem obvious, as of course they are mixes of the 3 frontier colors and we already have the salamanders as an example, but I was skeptical as to how they were gonna implement this in-game. The idea of hybrid weapons such as this one didn't quite hit me initially, but now after all the information we got and seeing that the sandwich crystals represent some of these colors, I can only assume that the big deal in this update are the minerals and their capacity to make hybrid weapons and gear, mixing all the different forms of power in the frontier and the other dimensions. I might still be missing something, but after all I got in regards to these crystals and these colors, this is the best I can come up with so far. There's definitely more to it, but again, we'll have to wait and see. Next, Spectra talks about the balancing act between the quality of new and old content, stating that their skills as developers have grown considerably, and the quality of their new content outshines that of old, sometimes to a stark degree. This has led to a bit of a development dilemma for the devs. Exactly how much time should they put towards revamping old content? This is an especially tricky situation when it comes to thinking about new players, who might be playing FF for the first time after the update. After all, they want this release to be big, and for everyone to see the best of what they have to offer. They feel like they arrived at a pretty good balance in this regard, but it's also something he wanted to talk about in order to properly set expectations. They have improved and revamped a fair bit of old content in this update, especially in the early game, but they simply do not have the time to update every outdated piece of content that they like, and must ultimately prioritize new content and releasing the update. And so they decided that, based on the stage they're currently at, they will likely continue to update and improve old content over time, after the update releases. There are still some old areas, monsters and weapons that could use a fresh coat of paint. But the game overall is looking solid, and these changes can wait in service of finally getting this update released. In my opinion, this is perfectly fine. I feel like they should draw the line at some point, because keeping adding more and more stuff was one of the reasons that delayed the update so much. They already established their goals, and we can all see from the teasers and dev posts that they have done a really great job. Furthermore, they have clarified multiple times that this update is more of an expansion rather than a remaster, so it's all fair to me. Finally, we have the last segment, called A Closing Note on Time. There, Spectre opens his heart to talk about how he feels about all this time that has passed. He notices how much they have grown and changed over this time, as he has seen many of us start families, graduate, build their own projects, and imagines that to a lot of us, the memories of Fantastic Frontier may have grown more distant. So he feels like perhaps this was the way it was meant to be, that this update was always destined to come at a different time in our lives. Fantastic Frontier is a project that started over 8 years ago, and only now he feels like they have what is required to deliver their full vision. So he asks of us all, continue living your lives to the fullest, and don't slow down to wait. But when the time comes, whoever you are and wherever you are in life, return to the frontier. This was a very emotional way to end it. I gotta admit that they are as good as writing as they are at making games. It hits me hard as someone who has been playing Fantastic Frontier for almost 7 years. It's crazy to think that when the last update was released, I was still at middle school, and now I study the course of my dreams at an university and share a home with the person I love the most in this world. My life has changed so much over this time, and I'm sure this also applies to the devs and all of you watching this right now, and really seeing how much we still have to enjoy in life. I guess it doesn't matter if the update comes next month or by the end of the year. In the end, we're all gonna be playing it and building great memories to think about in the future. Anyway, I would naturally end right here, but I actually forgot to talk about something from this dev post. The masks. I didn't mention them before because they're all scattered around the post in a way that would interrupt me while I was talking about something else. So I decided to discuss them all together at the end of the video. So these are the masks. I don't know what to say about them. Now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. Okay, seriously, these masks are a completely new thing. All I could do about them was associate this one, the evil mask, with a set that was shown at one of the picks of the week, and this other, the butterfly mask, to the butterfly that appeared in the very first Sky Island teaser. It also has a beautiful design and contains all the frontier and mixed colors. This one resembles the Brazilian president and it's called the Dwarf mask. So I guess there is a new race in this update, or possibly a mixture of dwarfs and elves. The most fantasy world RPG game thing ever. This other is called Smile Mask. I feel like I've seen something similar to it in a previous teaser, but I can't properly recall, so I don't know what to say about it. And this last one... it's pretty scary and vaguely resembles Gorbacelli's profile picture. Also it has all the frontier and mixed colors, each represented by a different geometrical form. I have seen 2 theories about this mask. One that relates them to the spirits of the frontier, who improve their HP in the current game, and another one that seemed to be very popular, associating each of them to a different dimension in the game. Which sounds very reasonable to me. I can't think of much else, so I'll leave it for you to tell your theories in the comments. I actually forgot something else. Both the devs made accounts on Blue Sky, where they are gonna be posting the regular teaser they already post on Twitter, and supposedly some bonus dev stuff. But most importantly, their image announcing the Blue Sky account has this. I love him so much. I need the plushie of whatever this is. Okay, now we're actually done. This post had way more stuff than it initially appeared, so this video might take a while to come. I hope you all had a good New Year's Eve, and once again, wish everyone a fantastic 2025, the year of the update, if everything goes right. See ya!